Sun Wukong. Two terrifying dreams. The 7th and 8th trials of the 81 calamities. Protagonist: Sun Wukong. Weapon: Ruyi Jinggu Bang, also known as Golden Cudgel. Characteristics: extremely high combat prowess, once took on the entire heavenly army single-handedly. Weaknesses: willful and temperamental, though talented people often are. On the border between the Tang dynasty and the Daden kingdom, there is a mountain called Mount Two Worlds. On one side of the mountain is the Tang dynasty territory, and beyond the mountain lies a foreign land. Originally, Mount Two Worlds was known as Mount Five Elements. People living nearby knew that underneath this mountain was a monkey trapped and imprisoned. Indeed, that monkey was Sun Wukong. Two terrifying dreams. Sun Wukong had been trapped under Mount Five Elements for 500 years. At first, he was filled with rage and resentment, putting all his strength into trying to overturn the mountain. Despite his immense power, he couldn't budge it even slightly, for the mountain was weighed down by a golden talisman left by the Buddha. This talisman represented the Buddha's power, and Sun Wukong was ultimately no match for it. Decades later, Sun Wukong stopped struggling and came to realize that no matter how hard a mortal tries, they can never lift the Ruyi Jinggu Bang hidden in their own ear. Similarly, no matter how he struggled, he could never escape the Buddha's grasp. Thus, Sun Wukong began to calm down. He spent most of his time sleeping, and only spoke to passers-by on rare occasions. The more he slept, the more he dreamed. Sun Wukong's dreams were often bizarre, fantastical, and unbelievable. In the first dream, Sun Wukong dreamed that he was just an ordinary monkey. In the dream, Sun Wukong leapt out of the immortal stone and met many of his kind on Flower Fruit Mountain. He became the leader of the monkey troop, known as the Handsome Monkey King. Every day he played and frolicked with his fellow monkeys, living a carefree and joyful life. The dream mirrored Sun Wukong's original monkey life exactly, and reliving his former life filled him with great happiness. One day, a monkey with a golden back came to Sun Wukong and said, "Great King, you possess extraordinary talents, and under your leadership, the monkeys of Flower Fruit Mountain live in harmony. However, you are still immortal and cannot escape death. I have heard that in the ancient cave of Mount Immortal, there are immortals who know the secrets of eternal life. If you could learn from them, you would live as long as the heavens and enjoy eternal blessings." In the dream, Sun Wukong's mind buzzed, and for a moment the barrier between dream and reality seemed to dissolve. He recalled his real-life experiences. Indeed, he had found an immortal master named Patriarch Bodhi, from whom he had learned the secrets of immortality and the skills of invincibility in battle. But what of that? In the end, he was still trapped under Mount Five Elements by the Buddha. Life was hardly worth living. Thinking this, Sun Wukong in the dream hurriedly told the golden-back monkey, "I have no interest in learning the secrets of immortality. To live like you, as an ordinary monkey, enjoying a carefree life, is the greatest blessing." The golden-back monkey sighed deeply and turned to walk away. As he left, he muttered to himself, "Even ordinary monkeys struggle to live peacefully. All beings suffer." Sun Wukong paid him no mind, resolute in his decision to stay on Flower Fruit Mountain, determined to live freely and happily there. A few days later, while Sun Wukong was playing in the water curtain cave, a small monkey suddenly burst in, panicked and out of breath, shouting, Great King, something terrible has happened. Many demon kings have come to seize Flower Fruit Mountain for themselves." Sun Wukong quickly asked, "Which demon kings are they?" The little monkey replied, "The Bull Demon King, the Dragon Demon King, the Rock Demon King, the Lion Camel King, the Macaque King, and the Gibbon King." In the dream, Sun Wukong burst into laughter because he knew that in reality, these demon kings had eventually become his sworn brothers. So he said, "No need to panic. I'll go meet them. These demon kings are kindred spirits, and we can talk things out." Sun Wukong casually walked out of the water curtain cave and saw the demon kings. He greeted them with a grin, saying, "My good brothers, long time no see. How have you been?" Unexpectedly, the Bull Demon King showed no courtesy and retorted, "You stinking monkey, how dare you call yourself our brother and try to get close to us? You truly don't know your place." Sun Wukong, somewhat puzzled, replied, "Why can't I call you my brothers? As long as we share the same spirit, we are brothers across the world." The demon kings laughed heartily and said, "We possess boundless powers and supreme abilities, capable of making clouds and rain with the wave of our hands. You're just an ordinary hairy monkey. What right do you have to call us your brothers? Stay away." Sun Wukong was stunned, and it was only then that he realized the truth. In the real world, the demon kings treated him with such respect and camaraderie not because of any genuine bond, but because of his extraordinary abilities and mystical powers. If he were just an ordinary monkey, they wouldn't have given him a second glance. Seeing Sun Wukong standing there in a daze, silent and unmoving, the demon kings assumed he was preparing to resist. They immediately launched an attack on Flower Fruit Mountain. Fire-breathing demons unleashed flames, while others summoned thunderstorms. In an instant, the entire mountain was ravaged beyond recognition by fire and lightning. The monkeys under Sun Wukong's command were slaughtered mercilessly. Witnessing the devastation in front of him, grief welled up inside Sun Wukong, and he let out a thunderous roar. The overwhelming sorrow jolted Sun Wukong awake from his dream. He opened his eyes to find the great mountain still weighing down on him, and apart from the occasional chirping of birds, all around him remained eerily silent. Sun Wukong murmured to himself, "I once thought that if I were just an ordinary monkey, I would be free from so many troubles. But now it seems that was a foolish hope. An ordinary monkey's fate might be even more pitiful." Great sage, it's time to eat." The voice of the keeper interrupted Sun Wukong's thoughts. Sun Wukong looked up at the keeper standing before him, who stood less than 2 feet tall with a head full of silver hair, and said, "Every meal is the same, hard iron balls and scalding hot copper water. I'm tired of it." Indeed, ever since Sun Wukong had been trapped under the 5 Elements mountain, the heavens had only sent him these 2 things to eat. If it weren't for his body of steel and iron, how could he have endured such a diet? The keeper smiled and said, "Great sage, please bear with it. The celestial immortals have only allowed me to bring you these items to eat. Besides, what delicacies in the mortal world could compare to the celestial peaches and divine wine of the heavens?" Sun Wukong replied, "Of course. Back when I was the great sage equal to heaven, I used to eat half a celestial peach and toss the rest away, and I even used divine wine just to brush my teeth and rinse my mouth. Back then I never thought much of it, but now if I want just one more bite, I'm afraid it'll only be in my dreams." The keeper continued to smile and said, "Since you can have anything you want in your dreams, great sage, why not eat your fill and then go back to dreaming?" Sun Wukong said, "You sly old keeper, how dare you mock me? The day I break free from this 5 Elements mountain, I'll be sure to use my Jing Gu Bang to break your legs." The keeper wasn't the least bit afraid and laughed, "You always talk about one day, but it's been 500 years and that day still hasn't come." With that, he waddled away. Sun Wukong sighed as he watched the keeper's retreating figure. Surprisingly, he felt a tinge of reluctance. Despite the old man's sharp tongue, over the past 500 years, he had been the one who spoke with Sun Wukong the most. After eating his fill and as the sky grew darker, Sun Wukong gazed up at the heavens, watching as the moon and stars slowly rose. Memories began to flood his mind. He thought of the old Dragon King, from whom he had forcefully taken the Ruyi Jin Gu Bang after returning from his training. He recalled the King of Hell, whom he had confronted in the underworld, demanding the Book of Life and Death to ensure the monkeys of Flower Fruit Mountain could live forever. He remembered Erlang Shen, the pagoda-bearing Heavenly King, and the many heavenly soldiers and generals who had attacked Flower Fruit Mountain on the Jade Emperor's orders, only to be defeated by him, forcing the Jade Emperor to grant him a position as a celestial being. And then there was Tai Bai Jinxing, who had initially convinced the Jade Emperor to offer him the lowly title of Bai Moen, the keeper of the heavenly horses, leading to his angry return to Flower Fruit Mountain. Yet it was this same old Tai Bai Jinxing who eventually persuaded the Jade Emperor to bestow upon him the title of Great Sage equal to heaven. The flood of past memories made Sun Wukong's head heavy and drowsy, and soon he fell asleep again. In his dream, he was once again the great sage equal to heaven, residing in the heavenly peach orchard where the moon and stars were his neighbors. In his dream, Sun Wukong reflected on how he had been imprisoned under the 5 elements mountain by the Tathagata. Because he had consumed all the celestial peaches, stolen the divine wine, and taken the elixir of immortality from the Supreme Lord Lao. Now that time had turned back, he resolved not to repeat those mistakes. Thus in his dream, Sun Wukong resisted his cravings and refrained from sneaking any celestial peaches. When the 7 fairies came to pick peaches on the Queen Mother's orders, he did not play any tricks on them. Even though he was not invited to the Queen Mother's peaches banquet, he kept his dissatisfaction in check and refrained from any inappropriate behavior. In summary, Sun Wukong adhered to the rules of the heavenly realm and endured the unfair treatment of the Jade Emperor and the Queen Mother, behaving like a true celestial being. He simply hoped to avoid any further trouble and be content with being a leisurely deity in the heavenly court. However, he did not anticipate that his wish would still go unfulfilled. One day Taibai Jingxing came to him and said, "Sun Wukong, the Jade Emperor has sent me with the decree. He says that your behavior has been improper, and he intends to revoke your title of Great Sage equal to heaven." Sun Wukong was both shocked and enraged. He demanded, "I have been so well behaved. Why do they say I have acted inappropriately?" Taibai Jingxing replied, "The Jade Emperor said that during the last meeting in the heavenly court you farted, and that is considered improper behavior." Sun Wukong was so infuriated that he was momentarily at a loss for words. Seeing that Sun Wukong was about to explode in anger, Taibai Jingxing leaned in and whispered, "Great sage, as the saying goes, 2 tigers cannot share one mountain, and 2 rulers cannot coexist in the same court. The Jade Emperor is the ruler of the heavenly court, yet you call yourself Great Sage equal to heaven, which puts you on equal footing with him. Naturally, this doesn't sit well with him. If you relinquish this title, it will ease the Jade Emperor's mind, and your days will go much smoother." Sun Wukong let out a cold laugh and said, "If that's the case, why did he give me the title of Great Sage equal to heaven in the first place?" Taibai Jingxing sighed and said, "Back then it was because they couldn't defeat you. The Jade Emperor had no choice but to resort to this measure." Sun Wukong burst into loud laughter and said, "Back then, when I was beating your heavenly soldiers and generals to a pulp, you could tolerate me. But now that I'm behaving and following the heavenly rules, the Jade Emperor finds the title of Great Sage equal to heaven an eyesore. Fine, so you're just a bunch of bullies who only respect force and not the person. Well, don't blame me if I'm not so polite." With that, Sun Wukong pulled out his Jingu Bang from his ear, leaped into the sky, and flew straight to the heavenly court. Hovering above the Jade Emperor's Lingxiao Palace, he swung his staff down with all his might. The strongest disciple in history was ready to unleash his power. Just as Sun Wukong was about to wreak havoc in the heavenly court in his dream, he suddenly heard a voice, "Wukong? Wake up! Wukong! Wake up!" The voice jolted him awake. When he looked up, he saw Guanyin floating in midair with her disciple. Seeing that Sun Wukong was awake, Guanyin turned to her disciple and said, "This is the same Sun Wukong who once caused such chaos in the heavenly court, now subdued here by the Buddha." Sun Wukong, pretending not to recognize Guanyin, said, "Who is it that's exposing my past faults behind my back?" Guanyin with her disciple approached Sun Wukong and said, "Do you not even recognize me anymore?" Sun Wukong chuckled and said, "Ah, I remember now. You are the merciful and compassionate Guanyin, from the southern seas Mount Potalaka, savior of the suffering. What brings you here today?" Guanyin replied, "How about I offer you a chance to regain your freedom?" Sun Wukong was stunned, murmuring, "Freedom? Freedom?" The 2 dreams he had just experienced resurfaced in his mind, and he had a vague sense that his fate might already be sealed. He wondered if this freedom offered by someone else could truly be freedom, and what price he might have to pay for it. Yet, having been trapped here for so very long, he was desperate to break free from the mountain pressing down on him. So even if this freedom was something given to him by others, he couldn't find a reason to refuse it. Sun Wukong said, "As long as you can release me, I'm willing to do anything." Guanyin said, "Very well. Soon a monk from the Tang dynasty will pass by this place. He will be able to rescue you. After you are freed, you must protect him on his journey to the west to retrieve the scriptures." Sun Wukong quickly replied, "Yes, yes, yes." Guanyin said no more and left with her disciple. From that day on, Sun Wukong waited every day for the monk to appear. Without any hope, a century felt like a fleeting moment, but with anticipation, even a brief wait became excruciatingly tense. Sun Wukong waited and hoped, and finally one day, a bald-headed monk appeared within his sight. Sun Wukong clutched at the opportunity like a lifeline and shouted, "Are you the monk going to the west to retrieve the scriptures?" At this moment, Tang Seng had just faced his 7th trial on his journey at Two Fork Ridge. Here's what happened. Tang Seng had narrowly escaped from the lair of General Yin and arrived at a place called Two Fork Ridge. There he was surrounded by 2 tigers and several venomous snakes. Though these creatures were not demons, they still posed a significant threat to the lone Tang Seng. Just as he was about to be devoured by the beasts, a local hunter happened to pass by and helped drive them away. The series of disasters had left Tang Seng deeply shaken. Wandering alone through the desolate mountains and wilderness, he felt a gnawing anxiety and fear within his heart. At the slightest rustle, Tang Seng was immediately on edge. Just then he heard someone shouting, "Are you the monk going to the west to retrieve the scriptures?" Startled, Tang Seng wondered, "Why is someone speaking to me in the mountains?" Following the sound, he looked and saw Sun Wukong, who was trapped under the mountain. Seeing that Tang Seng had noticed him, Sun Wukong, fearing that his strange appearance might frighten the monk away, quickly said in rapid succession, "Guanyin told me to wait for you here. If you rescue me, I will protect you on your journey to the west to retrieve the scriptures." Tang Seng, having lost his 2 disciples to demons and currently worried about being without companions, was naturally very pleased to hear that someone was willing to act as his bodyguard. However, upon looking at the enormous mountain pressing down on Sun Wukong, he said, "But such a huge mountain, I can't move it." Sun Wukong replied, "You don't need to move the mountain. There is a golden plaque left by the Buddha on this mountain. Just tear it off and I'll handle the rest." Tang Seng, though doubtful, climbed to the top of the mountain and indeed found a golden plaque. He tore it off as instructed. Sun Wukong was overjoyed and said, "Quick, get out of the way. I'm coming out." Tang Seng walked 2 miles away and stopped, only to hear Sun Wukong shout, "No, it's too close. Move further away." Tang Seng continued to walk and reached 5 miles away, but Sun Wukong was still shouting, "Too close, too close. Go further." Tang Seng thought to himself, "I've gone so far, what could still be dangerous?" Yet, he dared not ignore Sun Wukong's instructions and continued to move further away. In reality, Sun Wukong was even more anxious than Tang Seng. Having been trapped under the mountain for 500 years, he had long imagined the moment of escaping to freedom. If he hadn't been afraid of harming Tang Seng with falling rocks and causing his newly found master to meet his end on the spot, Sun Wukong would have erupted much earlier. Seeing that Tang Seng was at a sufficient distance, Sun Wukong gathered all his strength and leaped out from the mountain. The massive mountain was instantly overturned by him, causing a cataclysmic collapse with rocks and debris flying into the air. Although Tang Seng was quite far from the 5 Elements mountain, many large rocks still fell around him, nearly crushing him to death. This was his 8th trial on the journey, the perilous Mount Two Worlds. After breaking free, Sun Wukong did a somersault and landed in front of Tang Seng, addressing him as Master. Thus, Sun Wukong became Tang Seng's disciple and began protecting him on the journey to the west.